Hi everybody, my name is Lance Nelson Porter and I'm the author of Murder by Wolf, which is available on Amazon as a Kindle ebook. And I want to talk to you about how to write a murder mystery. Writing a murder mystery is a little different than writing another kind of novel. Other kinds of novels can take various forms. They can be character driven. There are all kinds of options. But murder mystery is more structured, more formalized than that. There are rules to the game, and the most important element in your murder mystery is your plot. There has to be a murder. It can't turn out that the person died of natural causes. That's cheating. It's not fair. There has to be a murderer, and there has to be a sleuth, someone who investigates this murder and figures out how it was done. Some of the other rules are that the person who commits the murder, the murderer, has to be introduced relatively early in the book. It's no fair to bring that person in late. So we have to be familiar with the person all through the book. And there have to be clues to the murder that are shared with the reader. And those clues that are shared with the reader have to be the ones that your sleuth uses in the end to solve the crime. So your reader has to be able to go back and go, oh yes, gosh, how did I miss that? Because it's a game, and that's a key part of the game, is that you have to play fair with the reader. You have to give the clues in the book that the sleuth uses to solve the crime. He can't solve the crime based on information he had that was hidden from the reader. Got to play fair. It's also a fact in a murder mystery that justice has to be served. People who read murder mysteries like poetic justice. They want everything wrapped up in the end. They want the guilty party found and punished. It's absolutely a rule. So these are some of the key elements that of the plot, and the plot is the most important thing. But there are a couple other elements as well. First of all, in addition to the clues that lead to the solution of the murder, there have to be clues that you plant that lead in another direction. This is called the red herring. And a murder mystery that's easily solved, where everything points to one person, and indeed it turns out that person did it, would be a very bad murder mystery and nobody would ever want to read it. There have to be other suspects in addition to the person who actually committed the crime. There have to be clues that lead in the wrong direction, that lead to the red herring, in addition to the clues that lead in the right direction, that lead to the person who actually solved the crime. So you got to make sure you got red herrings in your story, as well as the actual clues that lead to the solution. And then it really is nice if at some point in your murder mystery there's a twist. Something unexpected that may or may not be related to the solution of the crime. And a clever twist can really make a murder mystery into a classic. For example, Agatha Christie wrote one of my favorite plots of all time in a book called Murder on the Orient Express. And in that book, the twist is that in the end, it turns out that everybody did it. There were 12 or so passengers on this rail car, and every single one of them had a hand in the murder. But it's a true playing by the rules murder mystery, because the clues are there that lead you to that conclusion, or that led Hercule Poirot to that conclusion. So it's a fair, above board, played by the rules of the game murder mystery, but with its tremendous twist in the end that it turns out everybody was guilty. Another plot twist that Agatha used in one of her books was that the narrator of the book actually turned out in the end to be the criminal, to be the murderer, to be the one who had done it. And again, that book played fair, featured Hercule Poirot, not of course as the narrator, but as the sleuth. Hercule figured it out based on clues that were given and available to the reader. And it was just a great murder mystery with a tremendous twist at the end. So if you can work a twist into your book, that makes it a better murder mystery. So the plot comes first, and when you go to write a murder mystery, you need to start out just puzzling it through. Who got murdered? Who did the murder? Why did they do the murder? Who else could look like they did the murder or would have a reason to? And you piece the jigsaw puzzle together, and you don't really start writing a murder mystery until you know exactly how it ends. There are a couple other elements, though, that go into a murder mystery. One of them is absolutely standard and essential, and that is that there must be a sleuth. In other words, there's got to be a detective who solves this. By no means does the detective have to be a police detective, a homicide detective. Think of Nancy Drew, the Hardy Boys, Miss Jane Marple, Lord Peter Wimsey. There are millions of really good series of murder mysteries that have been built around a detective who was not, in fact, a member of the police force. In fact, for most writers, we've never been police. We're not really familiar with how police works. Very hard to write a real convincing murder mystery featuring a homicide detective if you don't have some inside knowledge about the way a police force actually works. So it's really easier for most writers to write a Miss Jane Marple or whatever because she's just an ordinary grandmotherly lady, and we all know somebody like her to base our sleuth on. The sleuth has to be an appealing character. We have to like the sleuth, and we have to be pulling for the sleuth to succeed. The sleuth can be a deeply flawed human being. They can be as quirky as you want. But in the end, we have to be pulling for them to solve the crime. It's critical. Another element to consider is where are you going to set your novel? Now, I just published a novel online called Murder by Wolf, which is set in Yellowstone National Park. And the book's going over very well, getting great reviews. People really like it. And a big factor in that is the setting. People enjoy reading about the history of the park. They enjoy reading about the wolves and the reintroduction of the wolves and how they interacted with the plot line. And I really think that's an element that adds to the book tremendously. Now, it's critical that you write about a place that you really know well. When I wrote that book, I wrote a good part of it while I was actually on a 3-week camping trip in Yellowstone National Park. So this really added a lot of authenticity to the book because I could write about things like where you can and cannot get cell service in Yellowstone National Park that were absolutely true and correct. And I really think that again, added to the authenticity of the book. But the key thing is, you've got to write about a place that you know so you can really bring that place to life. So plot, sleuth, and setting, to me, are the key factors that make for a good murder mystery, and I hope yours turns out well. If you've enjoyed this little video, got something out of it, please take a look at my book, Murder by Wolf. It's on Amazon.com. My name is Lance Nelson Porter. If you like the book, please post a review for me on Amazon. Thank you very much.